and welcome back to Historical Belle. I am Marie of Historical Belle, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made a Votes for Women Suffragist sash. I started out by entering the words votes and for into my embroidery machine. As you can see, it just says votes and for. Women did not fit into this embroidery hoop. I'm going to have to do that in another installment. You can also see that I have 2 votes and 2 words for, and that is because I am making several of these for the History Center where I work. We will be using them for interpretive purposes and for an exhibit that we're doing about the 19th Amendment. So I'm really excited. That means one of my sashes is going to be on display in a museum, and it's kind of like a dream of mine. It's one of my historical costuming pieces, or my historical reproductions, is going to be on display in a museum. I'm really excited about that. If you would like to go and see it, it is on display through March at the Northeast Georgia History Center. Here you can see my embroidery machine embroidering the word women, and you can see the votes and the for have already been embroidered, and then I had to line it up perfectly for women to be spaced correctly in the line that I was going down. I also learned some things about embroidery backing because I started out using the wrong type of backing and it didn't stabilize correctly. So here I am using the better backing, which makes my embroidery not all crunched up and icky and it looks pretty bad. This one, it's going great since I'm using the correct backing, and yes, backing makes a very big difference in embroidery. The slogan, Votes for Women, was very popular in the women's suffrage movement, and you can see a lot of historical photographs with women wearing a sash with those exact words on them. But the colors can be very different. We'll be going through why we chose the colors we did in a moment. Right now we just have black letters being embroidered on white fabric. Now you will note I said suffragist and not suffragette, and that is because I am making the American version of the sash with the American colors, or some of the American colors I should say, and it's very interesting history here. Women in America still thought the term suffragette was insulting because it was devised as an insulting term, but women in Great Britain who were campaigning for the vote really made it their own, and they would pronounce it with a hard G, so it would be suffragette, and that would be because they were trying to get the vote. So they made it their own and really claimed that derogatory term and made it not derogatory. In America, that didn't happen. Suffragette was still a derogatory term, and therefore American women wanted to be called suffragists. And therefore this is a suffragist sash. Here I am with my good backing that makes everything beautiful, and it is tearaway backing. So here I am tearing it away. Here I am cutting out the Votes for Women part of my sash, and that's going to be the middle part. I'm using one of my lovely sewing rulers here to help me figure that out. I'm making up this pattern as I go. So I want it to be a little bit bigger than I think it needs to be, and because that way you can always trim down. It's not ideal to start sewing pieces of fabric together to make it larger. And here I am with the other backing that did not work as well. It was the kind of gauzy backing. It worked okay for one of them. It destroyed one of my other ones and made some of the embroidery unusable. So here are the 2 other colors of the sash that I created, purple and gold or yellow. While gold was the only color used by all U.S. suffrage organizations, though white also became very widely adopted once the parade started, and that's so a lot of suffragettes also suffragettes and suffragists wore white, and therefore because they were able to stand out in a crowd better and they were photographed well so people would be able to see them. The purple, white, and gold combination was used only by the National Woman's Party in the United States. The organization described the meaning of these colors in a newsletter published December 6, 1913. And I quote, "Purple is the color of loyalty, constancy to purpose, unswerving steadfastness to a cause. White, the emblem of purity, symbolizes the quality of our purpose. And gold, the color of light and life, is as the torch that guides our purpose, pure and unswerving." And yes, I did just make my cat disappear. So what I've been doing here is I've been cutting 2-inch strips of the purple and the gold fabric. And then I need, let's see, because I'm lining it the same. So each sash takes 4 of each color. Well, 4 strips, 4 2-inch strips of purple and 4 2-inch strips of the gold. And then there is, well, yes, there are also 4 strips of white, but the white strips are a little bit larger. So here, I'm not going to use the full 4 inches of the white. I decided I'm just going to do the 2 inches. Well, it's complicated. There's not an exact measurement. I am overlapping the gold and the purple over the Votes for Women letters, but also leaving it to where I can sew each of them. There's a seam allowance for each. So if I had to guess, I think the white ended up being around probably 3 inches, maybe 2.5. So as you can see, as I'm stitching here, I can still stitch everything, even though I overlapped the gold and the purple a little bit. And then here I am trimming off the excess of the white to make nice pretty seams. And then I'm pressing my seams open. So here I am attaching the front to the back and then deciding the lining and putting the lining front and back together as well. So this seam that I'm pinning right here will sit on the shoulder, and then here's the lining. It does not have any words embroidered onto it. So now it's time to attach the front of the sash to its lining. And basically I'm just going to match up the gold and match up the purple and then sew all the way around it. I first gotta trim up those seams that I just sewed. And trim some embroidery threads. So I left the back bottom side open so I can turn it right side out. So earlier you could see me, I trimmed the corners so that they would lay nicer, but here I am poking the corners out with my large ruler, my large sewing ruler. So once I top stitched the end that I had left open together, the sash was done. I'm thinking of making another batch of these sashes, so if you are interested in buying one or pre-ordering one, let me know. Go ahead and leave a comment or message me on Instagram because I'm thinking of putting some of these up on my Etsy. Now, while making these sashes, I could not help but draw similarities between another sash that is in my life, and that is my graduation sash that I have not gotten to wear yet from Delta Phi Epsilon, my sorority. Delta Phi Epsilon was founded at the University of New York Law School in 1917 by 5 very progressive and amazing women who went on to do a lot of really awesome things. I feel very strongly that the sorority's colors are not purple and gold just by coincidence. I think it very much had to do with the women's suffrage movement. I will leave you with one of the many amazing things one of the founders of Delta Phi Epsilon did, and that is Ida Beinstock Lando. When she married in 1921, she married a non-U.S. citizen, and as a result, she lost her citizenship and the right to practice law. She petitioned Congress about the injustice and attracted national attention. This led to the adoption of the Cable Act, which restored her citizenship and guaranteed that American women would not forfeit their citizenship and therefore their right to vote by marriage to a foreigner.